Welcome to this week's fantasy update sponsored by Papa John's. We were going to get Mr. Hollis back on this show as he said he was ready to open up about his trade scandal and the FBI investigation, but unfortunately his house was raided early Tuesday morning and the FBI took him into custody, so we'll update you as that story develops, but for now we're going to get to the recap of last week. Alvin Kamara basically beat Cam Jones on his own, as the booth didn't have another player score past 20 except for Burrow, who I believe scored exactly 20. The booth only had 4 players, including Kamara and Burrow, who scored over 10. So you can imagine a 41-point performance from Alvin was helpful. Timmy needed another 20 points on top of his 21 already from Tyreek Hill to make him and Commissioner's game even competitive. Obviously, that didn't happen, and Timmy ended up losing. Ellipsis had a .2 lead over KKK going into Monday before Hollywood Brown put up an outstanding 3.3 performance, which was literally just enough to squeeze by with the win. 0-3 needed Mark Andrews to score about 101 points. He scored 5 and Dumbfuck lost to Big Daddy by 96. And our game of the week comes from Team Gay after he found himself down 14 at the end of Sunday with a tight end and a kicker left to play. Those of you who've been in this league a little longer know that tight ends and kickers can tend to score really low, but they also can have huge games and boost your team to wins. So fortunately for him, they did manage 17 points, and he barely got away with the win. It's definitely been the best game of the week this season. So with losing, there are only 2 3-0 teams left, the Booth and the obvious winner of this league. Danny is actually terrifying the rest of the league, including myself. I said he wouldn't have nearly as good of a performance as his 160 points in week 2. This past week, he nearly put up 180, so please forgive me, Dan. I didn't mean to doubt you. Please go easy on me when we play. But this does bring us to the clown of the week. Can I get a drum roll? It's Alex. Alex, you've earned the clown of the week by starting Cole Jr. over Tyler Lockett, who put up 37 points. If you had started Tyler Lockett, you would have won that game. So it was a bad idea. Costed you an undefeated season. But we do have some honorable mentions. We get one out to Dumbfuck, who I am assuming will probably make this spot every single week. He doesn't have to do anything except for continue to play, and he'll probably continue to make the spot on Clown of the Week. And our other honorable mention is, of course, Derek Slakeland Booth, who almost lost to Cam Jones. Also, the owner said that Danny would have a close game against Zach. Zach lost by 96. The worst beatdown so far this year. Alright, well, I just got word that I am not allowed to wear the Papa John's hat. We are not sponsored by Papa John's, so I would like to recant my statement. No Papa John's sponsorship. But we do have one trade to discuss. That came earlier today. Go ahead. Guess who made the trade. If you guessed the same guy who traded away half his team last week, then you guessed correctly. Commissioner Smell traded away Jared Cook and Todd Gurley. If you play for Smelly Finelli, your job is not safe. I do not care who you are. He ended up getting Zach Ertz out of this deal. Timmy still has a solid tight end in Hawkinson, so he doesn't have to start Jared Cook, thankfully. And he needed a running back, but he only got Todd Gurley out of this deal. And Todd Gurley at this point is a very low-end flex. He's not really a starter. So I'm going to give Timmy a C-, and I'm going to give Fennell an A, as he massively upgrades the starting lineup, adding a good tight end to the mix. Although I will say the team chemistry in that locker room for Fennell must be equivalent to like a meet and greet at this point. Expect Zach Ertz to tear his MCL by week 7, though. Last week, I did say I was going to call Commissioner and see if he was thinking of any ways to punish teams like Dumbfuck for tanking to keep the league competitive. But due to my ongoing dispute with him and the FBI, those questions will be postponed for a later week, as I am not allowed to be in contact with him until a verdict is reached. So to fill in that time slot, I will be ranking the worst commissioners from, bottom to top to bottom I don't know. Number 10 would be the best. Number 1 would be the worst. I don't even know how to word that right now. Anyways, these are subject to change throughout the season if I get more evidence proving that you should be higher on the list. Ranking at number 10, we have Danny. Although he is a hockey fan, he's having a historical season. He's averaging 155 through 3 games, scoring 160 plus in the past 2 weeks. He's obviously a top tier owner at this point. It'd be hard for him not to put him at that, or hard for me not to put him at that spot. At number 9, we have Alex. He's consistently been good. Every season he gives us something good. And even without his number 1 overall pick, his team still had a very competitive game with the KKK, white supremacist, whatever you want to call them, racist pigs. He had a very close game with them, and I consider them a good team. So even without his number 1 overall pick, the rest of his team is still solid. As an owner, he's amazing. If he had started Lockett, he would still be 3-0. He deserves this number 9 spot. At number 8, I'm going to put Commissioner Smell. I know you're pissed, and I know a lot of you are probably asking what, throwing your phones, smashing your TV, whatever you're watching this on. You're probably mad that I put Fennell this high on the list, but hear me out. This is an owner's list. This is not a team performance list, and Fennell has made good trades, I think. He has made solid trades throughout the season to improve his team. He has consistently been giving an effort, changing his lineup around. He's been doing the most work out of everybody owner-wise. So, I'm going to have to put Fennell at number 8. Although his team isn't the best, he has been a very good owner this season. Finally, at number 7, myself, as a lot of you probably thought I would be number 8, but I already explained that. I'm the only other 3-0 team. Although I'm actively being watched by the FBI for betting and throwing my team, that still doesn't change the fact that I have a number 1 and the number 7 running back along with a top 10 QB, a great flex option, 2 starting caliber tight ends to pair up with Kenny Golladay and Devontae Parker or whoever else I decide to start at my number 2 wide receiver spot. And even after saying all of that, I'd probably still end up losing to Danny. That's how scary Danny is this season. And coming out at number 6 is our favorite white supremacist, Trevor. Although a lot of you thought I would be putting Christopher here given his production this season, I think Trevor barely squeaked past him after making a solid trades to improve his roster. One being the girly for Drake, which he definitely won that trade. I mean, Drake is a very consistent player, and I think he's definitely an upgrade from Todd Gurley, obviously. He's also harvesting 2 top 5 QBs, and he has a lot of trade value. Trevor has put his team in a position to be competitive year after year. I can't put him any lower than this at this point. So Trevor at number 6. Number 5, of course, we have Christopher. And a lot of you are thinking, well, Gayron would beat Smelly and KKK. And you're probably right. I think he probably could beat them. But this is an owner's list, not a team list, and Christopher hasn't done much this season to improve his roster, like Smell and Trevor have. Although I think he'd beat him, as an owner, he's just not elite. Number 4 was a toss-up, but after I saw Timmy made the trade with Fennell, I had to put Timmy here. He's at least attempting to make improvements to the trades, although everyone who he's received so far has been a huge gamble on whether they'll actually be a decent player or just stay the same at a massive bust. But whether they play good or not, he's still making an effort, I guess. So Timmy at number 4, though he's not an elite trade maker, he's still not worthy of a top 3 worst spot. Coming in hot at number 3, we have Benjamin. This was definitely a tough one to choose between him and Cam Jones, but Ben definitely drafted a better overall team. Cam Jones has a ton of great players. I mean, with Lamar Jackson, I'm not even going to attempt to say his name, but the Kansas City running back is another good one. Cam Jones is a good team, but I think he has a ton of bad players too. Maybe not bad, but just not good players, which is why I think Ben has cracked the spot at number 3 over number 2. Cam, obviously the number 2 spot. I talked about him just before, so I don't need to go into great detail. If some of Cam's players start playing better, he has the potential to be moved up to number 3 or even number 4. But as of right now, I'm still going to keep him at number 2. And you already knew who the worst was before I started the list, so I'm just going to go ahead and skip past it and go on to predictions.
Every day I think of you and miss you.
The Paps hold a 58-42 advantage over Timerton, who at the moment just has matchup issues, really. But Tim can easily win this game if his receivers pop off. But at this moment, or this point in time at least, I'm predicting that Ben will have a better overall game and probably win. Thus why I'm giving him the 58-42 advantage. Smell is up against Phoenix, and honestly I know I rank Smell so high on the owner's list, but he's still starting Tom Brady, and he doesn't really have a reliable flex to look to. Expect this to be a pretty decent game, with 55-45 Fennell at the advantage. Zach fooled me last week into thinking he was going to be decent at least. I even said he'd crack 100. He did none of that. But with Michael Thomas back, he's got easy matchups all across the board. Only issue is he's up against Dot Dot, who has even easier matchups and a better team. So I'm going to have to give Dot Dot the 56-44 advantage. I mean, this could be one of the more high-scoring games due to just about everybody on the roster having an easy game. But I'm going to say that slightly because Zach still has not scored over 100 in 3 weeks. We have Big Daddy versus Gayrin, who is set to be a great game. But given the fact that I am scared of Danny, I'm going to give him a 58-42 advantage. And finally, we have Race Haters and the Boof going at it. This should end up being the game of the week. A lot of potential for Trevor, who I think could win. But due to his issues at running back compared to mine, and my issues at wide receiver compared to his, this one's going to be hard. But I think I'm going to give out my first 50-50 odds. Just toss them up. You get to choose whoever you think could win. But I think it's definitely a 50-50 game. It's a toss-up. But for the sake of having an actual prediction here, I do think that I have a slight edge because of my defense, flex, and tight end. But we'll see. It should be a really good one. A lot of really easy matchups. Expect to see possibly 2 150-point games out here. That's all I really had this week. Nothing to say here at this point. So Godspeed from the Cock and Ball Torch organization. And good luck to Florida State, who needs it more than the rest of us. 150, 150, 150, 100, 100, 100, 100, 100, 100.